Sullivan's Crossing Season 3 has brought the focus onto a new villain for the show, and with that, an antagonist from the show's earlier seasons appears to have turned a new leaf. The series is set in a small town in Nova Scotia that has all the hallmarks of idyllic small-town life seen on TV. The drama is focused at the Sullivan's Crossing campground that has been in the Sullivan family for generations. With the series focusing on Maggie, Morgan Cohen, and her reconnecting with her childhood home and family, much of the conflict in the series comes from the relationships in the series or the circumstances that the characters find themselves in, rather than a villainous character. One character, however, worked as an antagonist for Maggie in the first 2 seasons of the show. Sullivan's Crossing has almost no villains, but Lola was a sympathetic antagonist. Lola and Maggie have a complicated relationship. As soon as Maggie returns to Sullivan's Crossing for a break from her life in Boston in the first season of the show, it is clear there is animosity between Maggie and Lola, Amalia Williamson. Maggie's entire demeanor changes the moment she encounters Lola at Sullivan's Crossing, and though the audience, at the time, did not have any context for why Maggie might have disliked her, we know that means Lola will likely be the antagonist. Sullivan's Crossing paints Lola in a villainous light, but the truth is that she is not an outright villain for the show. Villains in Sullivan's Crossing, after all, are few and far between. Lola is, however, a great antagonist for Maggie. Maggie, who initially sees Sullivan's Crossing as a part of her past, and Lola, who is so embedded in Sullivan's Crossing she never truly left, are great foils for one another. Maggie initially sees Lola as the young woman who stole her father from her because Lola and her mother moved in with Sully when Lola's mother had a fatal illness. When Maggie came to visit her father years after her parents divorced, she found Lola living in her room and believed Sully, Scott Patterson, had essentially replaced her in his life. Lola, on the other hand, initially sees Maggie as someone who abandoned her father. With Lola seeing Sully as a father herself, then losing her mother and her grandmother before the events of the series, Lola cannot understand why Maggie would just throw away a family member who seemed to care so deeply for her. Neither young woman understood the other's point of view until the end of Season 1, and even then, they still butt heads because they are both interested in newest Sullivan's Crossing resident, Cal Jones, Chad Michael Murray. The most villainous things Lola does in those first 2 seasons of the show are hiding Cal's letter to Maggie and talking badly about Maggie behind her back. Her actions come from a place of loneliness and jealousy, though, as her entire family is gone, and the very people she considers her family now seem to prefer Maggie's company to her own. It allows a complicated relationship to form between Lola and Maggie as they both care for Sully and the Crossing much more than they care for one another. The two always have friction in their scenes throughout Season 2, even as they are both trying to find a way to help Sully with his health scare and stop the Crossing from being foreclosed on. Lola does not understand why Maggie would not tell her right away about Sully's health or the foreclosure, but it does not even occur to Maggie to tell someone she does not consider part of her family. It makes their interactions layered and allows them to play more of a bickering sibling dynamic, the more scenes they have together. With Lola having such a difficult life growing up, it is easy to sympathize with her and become frustrated with her at the same time. Lola is a sweet person, wanting to help Sully around the Crossing however she can, and offering up her own home to guests in the middle of a hurricane. It's Maggie who brings out the antagonist within her, and once the two are able to find common ground and truly understand one another in Season 2, Lola begins to change for the better. Lola had to change in Sullivan's Crossing Season 3 for the good of the show. Sullivan's Crossing is driven by character growth. Amalia Williamson smiling as Lola in Sullivan's Crossing image via the CW. While there are aspects of Sullivan's Crossing that see characters making the same decisions or mistakes repeatedly, like Maggie running from her problems in the first 2 seasons, the characters eventually grow and learn from those mistakes. Maggie stops using the idea of running back to Boston as a way to escape conflict, and Lola starts to take a step away from the behaviors that make her so antagonistic toward Maggie. Part of the issue between Maggie and Lola is that when they first interact, they are still stuck in the mindset of being 15-year-old girls who have different perspectives on the same circumstances. Lola is continually stunted in that immature space in the first 2 seasons because, despite being the one caring for her grandfather and then his estate, she is also constantly being taken care of by those around her. Edna, Andrea Menard, protects her from uncomfortable moments like she is still a child, Sully pays for her tuition, and Cal does not hesitate to help her with anything. Lola has to step up and start doing things for herself and stop worrying about whether she or Maggie is getting the most attention in the room, and she does. Lola takes it upon herself to try to find ways to save Sullivan's Crossing. She returns to the scene of the accident Sully blames himself for to begin recovering her memories. She apologizes to Maggie for her behavior. These moments in Season 2 allow Lola to start growing up. If Lola did not experience these moments of growth in Sullivan's Crossing Season 2, she would not have been able to move on from being Maggie's personal antagonist. Lola, even as a supporting character, has to grow in order for the plot to move forward. Sullivan's Crossing is not a procedural in which the case of the week drives its focus. Instead, it's a serialized character drama. To keep the audience interested in the stories of those characters, they have to evolve and change. Lola's growth is natural for her and will allow her to have better stories moving forward if Sullivan's Crossing gets a Season 4, even if that means we might see a little less bickering between Maggie and Lola in Season 3 of Sullivan's Crossing.